Hey everybody, welcome back to the Wolf Pit with another episode of What Are We Eating? Tender Salisbury steak simmered in a dark rich brown gravy is unarguably one of the most delicious, quintessential comfort foods there is. At least in my opinion. If you disagree, I'm sorry, but you're wrong. Just look at that. The Salisbury steak with the gravy, and imagine a big pile of buttery mashed potatoes or a big bed of buttery rice along with your favorite vegetable, like macaroni and cheese. Or you might be a unicorn that doesn't like Salisbury steak, or you don't want to have a sit-down dinner or eat with a knife and fork, like a civilized person. You might want to just eat with your hands and have a cheesesteak sandwich. Or in a rare event, you might want to have Salisbury steak and a Philly cheesesteak mixed together, and I'm not exactly sure that would be a good combination. But if you, the people, happen to try it, let me know how it turned out. But it looks as though Banquet has made a Salisbury steak cheesesteak dinner. But it certainly doesn't say that on the box. But it does say creamy provolone Salisbury steak. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but the picture on the box reminded me of a cheesesteak sandwich. Made with Salisbury steak. Of course. So let's try the 13-ounce Banquet Mega Meals Creamy Provolone Salisbury Steak Dinner that costs $3.12, which is a gigantic helping with mega flavors of creamy provolone cheese sauce, 2 large Salisbury steak patties, and roasted potatoes. You know, I just thought of something. Why do they call these mega meals? I believe all of Hungry Man meals and some of the other food manufacturer meals are mostly 16-ounce meals. So Banquet, you need to step up your game if you're going to call your meals mega meals and they weigh less than 16 ounces. And here's the list of hearty ingredients. I got a little bit excited first when I saw the Salisbury steak patty was a combination of chicken, pork, and beef. While I wasn't exactly excited with the combination of the meats, I was excited I didn't see any TVP. But then, unfortunately, I continued to read down the lines, and I saw it. Textured vegetable protein. You, the people, know that I'm not a fan of TVP. However, it sometimes can work in a form meat slurry concoction, and it doesn't turn it into a spongy mess, feeling like you're biting down on a moist mattress in a nursing home. The serving size is the whole container, which has 490 calories, 32 grams of total fat, 11 grams of saturated fat, a half a gram of trans fat, 80 milligrams of cholesterol, 31 grams of carbohydrates, 5 grams of fiber, 4 grams of sugars, and 21 grams of protein. The Banquet Mega Meals Creamy Provolone Salisbury Steak Dinner got 4 stars out of 5. The most helpful positive review gave it 4 stars out of 5 and said it was overall okay. The most helpful negative review gave it 1 star out of 5 and said it's nothing like what's on the box. Even though I joke around sometimes about the food manufacturers catfishing the consumers, but we, the people, know that 99.9% of the time, the food inside of the box is never going to look like the food on the outside of the box. And even though I don't like big food manufacturers, I don't think it's fair to give a bad review because the food inside the box didn't look like the picture on the box. That food container has been tossed around, smacked around, dropped, and slapped around more than a tetherball in an elementary school. But the rest of Zachary's review was fair. He didn't like it. You can cook this in the microwave for 7.5 minutes or in a conventional oven for 40 minutes. If you partake in a little blazing with your friends, you're going to opt for the microwave directions. If you have something to do for 40 minutes, you're going to opt for the conventional oven directions. So just because I'm a really big spender and I love you, the people, I tapped into my HELOC and spent $6.24 so I could try one in the microwave and one in the oven. For you, the people, so you don't have to. And if you're one of those knucklehead scooters out there saying, I wish you stop saying for you, the people, it's really getting old, you're wasting your breath. Because I'll never stop doing these reviews for the people. If you don't like it, you have 3 choices. You can become one of the people, you can accept it and realize I'm never going to stop saying for you, the people, or you can simply move on and find a channel where someone's taking a bath in a bathtub full of Fruit Loops and milk. So here's our Banquet Mega Meal, cheesy provolone Salisbury steak dinner, right out of the freezer and right out of the box. And then we cooked one in the microwave and one in the oven, per the directions on the box. Here's our first Banquet Mega Meals creamy provolone Salisbury steak dinner after microwaving on high for 7.5 minutes. And the aroma immediately had my mouth watering. It smelled delicious. So we spooned over some of the Elmer's glue looking creamy provolone sauce on top of the Salisbury steaks. And then we gave the creamy provolone sauce a try by itself. And the sauce actually wasn't too bad. It was definitely creamy as advertised. The flavor of the peppers and onions were definitely the dominant flavor in the cheese sauce. And I know you, the people, hate when I do this, especially when a meal has 1,200 milligrams of sodium, but it really needed additional salt and pepper. We went in for a bite of the Cheesesteak Salisbury steak. So into the old pie hole and down the gullet it went. And like I said earlier in the video, sometimes TVP sucks. Other times, it just works. And in this case, the TVP worked well. The Salisbury steak had a great firm but tender texture. It wasn't spongy whatsoever. And it also had a good savory, salty flavor which complemented the creamy provolone sauce. And then we tried the roasted potatoes, which we already knew before we tried them, since they were microwaved, they certainly weren't going to have the crunchy texture of roasted potatoes. And even though the potatoes didn't have the texture or the taste of roasted potatoes, they were still pretty good. But like my younger daughter would say, they'd be slapping if you added some salt and pepper to them. So then we went in for a bite of everything, the creamy provolone Salisbury steak and the roasted potatoes. And the combined bite of everything all together came together really nicely and was delicious. It was good enough to have another bite. And although I love the crispiness and texture of roasted potatoes, I didn't miss it one bit in this dish. Now here's the second Banquet Mega Meals cheesy provolone Salisbury steak dinner after cooking in a 350-degree oven for 40 minutes. This time, we tried the potatoes first with the anticipation of them being somewhat crunchy after being cooked in the oven. Unfortunately, these potatoes had no crispiness to them whatsoever. The texture and the flavor was the same as the microwave version. Still pretty good though. Then we went in to try the cheesy provolone sauce by itself. And although it still was not a flavor explosion in your mouth, it did taste a little bit better than the microwave version. And I attribute that to the longer cooking time and the dry oven, therefore reducing the sauce a bit, which concentrates the flavor, but still needed just a little bit of salt and pepper to pep up the flavor. And as we mixed the cheesy provolone sauce, you could certainly tell it was much thicker than the microwave version. So we went in for a bite of the Salisbury steak with the cheesy provolone sauce. And again, the flavor was slightly better than the microwave version, and the texture remained palatable. So now it was time for the obligatory final bite of everything: the cheesy provolone sauce, the Salisbury steak, and the roasted potatoes. And once again, it was a mouthful of a good combination of flavors. The one thing I do wish both meals had was more peppers and onions. I mean, the flavors of the peppers and onions certainly come through, but by adding more peppers and onions, it would have visually made the dish look better and gave it some more texture. Besides the ever so slight flavor difference in the oven version versus the microwave version, there was really no discernible difference between the meals cooked in the oven and the microwave. If I was hungry, didn't have time, was lazy, and just didn't want to cook one night, I'd buy this again. And I would certainly opt for the quicker microwave version, which is why I'm giving Banquet's Mega Meal Creamy Provolone Salisbury Steak Dinner a 7 out of 10. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.